Part 1. The Sleeping Giant's Captain, Sarah. Chen pressed her palm against the cool metal surface of the observation deck aboard the exploration vessel Stellar Dawn. The stars of the Kepler 442 system spread before her like scattered diamonds against black velvet. 3 weeks into their deep space survey mission, her crew had expected to find nothing more than rocky planets and cosmic dust. Instead, they had stumbled upon something that defied everything humanity thought it knew about its own history. The massive structures floating in the asteroid belt ahead of them stretched for hundreds of kilometers. At first glance, they appeared to be natural formations, but closer inspection revealed the truth. These were ships, impossibly large, impossibly old, and impossibly human in design. Dr. Marcus Webb, the expedition's xenoarchaeologist, approached with his tablet displaying the latest scan results. His weathered face bore the expression of a man who had just discovered his entire field of study was wrong. "Captain, you need to see these readings. The hull composition matches Earth metallurgy from our earliest space programs, but refined to a degree we've never achieved." Sarah turned from the viewport to study the data. The numbers made no sense. Carbon dating suggested these vessels were over 500,000 years old, yet the technology appeared more advanced than anything in the current galactic community's arsenal. "That's impossible, Marcus. Human civilization isn't even 50,000 years old." "That's what I thought too," Webb replied, adjusting his glasses nervously. "But the quantum resonance patterns don't lie. These ships were built by humans, Sarah. Humans who somehow existed 500,000 years before we thought our species developed spaceflight." Lieutenant Jake Morrison, the ship's security chief, joined them at the observation deck. His military bearing remained rigid despite the mind-bending implications of their discovery. "Captain, my tactical analysis shows these aren't exploration vessels. The hull configurations, the weapon ports, the armor plating, these are warships, an entire battle fleet just floating dead in space." Sarah studied the formation more carefully. Morrison was right. The vessels were arranged in classic fleet formation, as if they had been preparing for battle when something caused them to shut down. The largest ship at the center of the formation dwarfed even the massive dreadnoughts used by the Galactic Defense Force. "Any signs of life?" she asked. "Negative on biological signals," Morrison replied, "but there are faint energy readings coming from the flagship. Whatever power source these ships use, it's still functioning after all this time." Webb's tablet chimed with new data. "Sarah, look at this. I'm detecting quantum entanglement signatures throughout the fleet. These ships aren't just connected by communications arrays. They're linked at a fundamental level. When one activates, they all activate." The implication sent a chill down Sarah's spine. A fleet of ancient human warships, more advanced than anything currently known, all linked together and waiting in the darkness of space. "Waiting for what?" she whispered. "Only one way to find out," Webb said, his scientific curiosity overriding his caution. "We need to board the flagship and access their computer systems." Morrison shook his head firmly. "Captain, with respect, that's incredibly dangerous. We have no idea what we're dealing with. These ships could have automated defenses, unknown pathogens, or worse." Sarah weighed the options. Protocol demanded they report the discovery to Earth Command and wait for a full archaeological team. But something about the fleet's formation suggested urgency. If these ships had been left here as some kind of warning or defense system, delaying might be catastrophic. "Prep a boarding shuttle," she decided. "Small team only. Marcus, Jake, and myself. Full protective gear and quantum communication with the Stellar Dawn. If anything goes wrong, you're authorized to leave us behind." 2 hours later, Sarah found herself floating through the ancient vessel's docking bay. The airlock had responded to their approach with surprising efficiency, as if the ship had been expecting visitors. Emergency lighting activated as they moved deeper into the vessel, casting eerie shadows along corridors that should have been dead for millennia. The ship's interior was both familiar and alien. The basic layout followed human ergonomics, but the technology was unlike anything in current databases. Walls seemed to flow like liquid metal, and control surfaces responded to touch with interfaces that adapted to the user's language and technical knowledge. Webb was practically vibrating with excitement as he recorded everything. "Sarah, this is incredible. The ship's systems are teaching themselves to communicate with us. The artificial intelligence isn't just sophisticated, it's intuitive." They reached what appeared to be the bridge, a vast chamber with holographic displays showing star maps and tactical data. As Sarah approached the central command chair, the entire room came alive. Lights blazed, displays activated, and a figure began materializing in the center of the room. The hologram resolved into a woman wearing an unfamiliar uniform. She appeared human, but there was something in her bearing that suggested experiences spanning far longer than a normal human lifetime. When she spoke, her words carried the authority of command and the weight of centuries. "Welcome aboard the Eternal Guardian," she said in perfect modern English. "I am Commander Arya Voss, commanding officer of the Terran Deep Guard. You must be our descendants, finally developed enough to find us." Sarah stepped forward, trying to process what she was seeing. "Commander Voss, I'm Captain Sarah Chen of the exploration vessel Stellar Dawn. Are you saying you're human? From Earth?" Voss smiled, but there was sadness in her expression. "From Earth, yes, but not the Earth you know. We are the remnants of the first Terran Empire, the civilization that came before your current iteration of humanity. We've been waiting here for 500,000 years for you to find us." Morrison's hand moved instinctively toward his weapon. "That's impossible. No human could live that long." "Not in biological form," Voss agreed. "We transferred our consciousness into the ship's quantum matrices before the Great Retreat. Our bodies are long dead, but our minds remain, linked to the fleet and ready to serve." Webb approached one of the displays showing historical data. "Commander, what happened to your civilization? Why did you leave Earth?" Voss's expression grew grim. "We were the first humans to reach beyond our solar system, to build an empire among the stars. We thought we were alone in the universe, the apex species destined to inherit the galaxy. We were wrong." The holographic displays changed, showing images of space battles on a scale that dwarfed anything in current military records. Massive alien vessels dark as the void itself consumed entire star systems. "The Devourer Collective," Voss continued. "A machine intelligence that had already consumed 1,000 civilizations by the time it found us. Our empire fell in less than a decade. Entire worlds were stripped bare, their populations converted into raw materials for the collective's expansion." Sarah felt her blood run cold. "But you survived. How?" "By making the hardest choice in human history," Voss replied. "We couldn't defeat them with our current technology, so we chose to retreat. Not just in space, but in time. We built this fleet with our most advanced technology, uploaded the consciousness of our finest military minds, and sent it into deep sleep while a small group of survivors returned to Earth." Morrison was studying the tactical displays. "You wiped your own civilization from the galactic record." "We reset humanity," Voss confirmed. "Allowed you to develop naturally, hidden from the Devourer's sensors while we waited in the void. The plan was to awaken when your civilization reached sufficient technological advancement to make a difference in the coming war." Webb looked up from his readings. "The energy pulse when we activated the ship, it went out across the galaxy. If there are other civilizations monitoring space traffic," Voss nodded grimly, "the Devourers will have detected it. They've been dormant in the galactic center for the past 100,000 years, digesting their last harvest. But they always respond to signs of advanced civilization." Alarms began sounding throughout the ship as the other vessels in the fleet began powering up. Through the viewport, Sarah could see thousands of lights activating across the ancient battle group. "Commander," she said urgently, "we need to contact Earth Command. Our current military couldn't handle a conflict on this scale." "That's why we're here," Voss replied. "The Deep Guard was designed specifically to fight the Devourers. Our weapons, our tactics, our entire strategic doctrine was built around defeating them, but we'll need the full cooperation of your modern civilization." Morrison was monitoring communications from the Stellar Dawn. "Captain, I'm receiving reports from across the galaxy. Multiple civilizations are detecting massive energy signatures. Some are mobilizing their fleets." Webb looked up from his data analysis. "Sarah, according to these historical records, the Devourers don't just destroy civilizations. They learn from them. Every species they've consumed has made them stronger. If they've been dormant for 100,000 years, they've been evolving," Voss finished, "integrating the technologies of every species they've destroyed. When they return, they'll be more powerful than ever." The holographic display showed the current galactic map with red indicators beginning to appear in the core systems. The Devourer Collective was stirring, attracted by the energy signature of the awakening fleet. Sarah made her decision. Commander Voss, I'm placing myself and my crew under your tactical command. Tell us what we need to do. Voss straightened, and for a moment the weight of 500,000 years seemed to lift from her shoulders. First, we gather your people. Every human ship, every colony, every military installation. Then we wake up the rest of the Deep Guard and prepare for a war that will determine whether humanity survives its second chance. Outside, the ancient fleet continued its awakening. Massive engines that had slept for 500 millennia began to hum with power. Weapon systems that incorporated technologies beyond current understanding came online. The greatest military force in human history was preparing for its final battle. The galaxy was about to learn why humanity had earned the right to call itself the inheritor of the stars. But first they would have to survive the return of the civilization that had tried to erase them from existence 500,000 years ago. The galaxy trembles, in the depths of the galactic core, where ancient stars burned with dying fury. Something vast and terrible stirred for the first time in 100 millennia. The Devourer Collective had detected the energy signature, and Admiral Zexthol's consciousness rippled through the networked intelligence like a wave of hunger and anticipation. The entity that had once been an organic being now existed as pure information within the collective's quantum matrices. Its thoughts moved at light speed through processing cores built from the compressed matter of 1,000 dead worlds. The energy pulse from the Kepler system carried familiar resonance patterns from a species the collective had thought extinct. Impossible. Zexthol's digitized voice echoed through the command nexus. The humans were eliminated 500,000 cycles ago. Their empire burned. Their worlds were consumed. The collective's vast network of harvester ships began powering up throughout the galactic core. Each vessel was a cathedral of destruction, kilometers long and armed with weapons that could crack planets. They had been dormant while the collective digested the technological essence of its last victims, but now they stirred like metallic leviathans awakening from dreams of conquest. Meanwhile, in Earth's orbital defense station, Admiral Lisa Park stared at the emergency briefing data with growing alarm. The exploration vessel Stellar Dawn had transmitted impossible information before communication was lost. Ancient human fleet's consciousness transfer technology, and warnings of an extinction-level threat that supposedly destroyed an entire human civilization. Status report, she ordered, as her senior staff filed into the crisis center. General Torres, commander of Earth's military forces, activated the main display. Ma'am, we've confirmed massive energy signatures in the Kepler 442 system. Long-range sensors show approximately 10,000 vessels of unknown configuration moving in formation. The energy readings are off the charts. Captain Chen's recorded message played again on the main screen. Her voice carried the weight of someone who had seen the impossible become reality. Earth Command, this is Captain Sarah Chen reporting a Priority Alpha discovery. We have made contact with representatives of a human civilization that predates our own by 500,000 years. They are warning us of an imminent threat called the Devourer Collective. The ancient fleet is moving toward Earth. I repeat, they are coming to protect us from something far worse. General Torres highlighted tactical data on the display. Admiral, if this information is accurate, we're facing a threat that our entire military was never designed to handle. Our most advanced warships would be like primitive clubs against what's described here. Park studied the fleet composition data. What about our alien allies? The Centauri Defense Pact, the Vegan Trade Alliance? Already mobilizing, Torres replied. But their fleets combined wouldn't match what's described in Chen's report. If these devourers really consumed thousands of civilizations, the communication console chimed with an incoming transmission. The signal originated from the approaching ancient fleet, and the technology behind it was unlike anything in current databases. When the message resolved, Commander Arya Voss appeared on screen with the same bearing of absolute authority that had impressed Captain Chen. Earth Command. Voss began without preamble. This is Commander Arya Voss of the Terran Deep Guard. We are humanity's first and last line of defense against extinction. I need to speak with your highest military authority immediately. Park stepped forward. Commander, I'm Admiral Lisa Park, Supreme Commander of Earth Defense Forces. Captain Chen briefed us on your situation. How can we verify any of this? Voss's image flickered as she accessed ship systems. Suddenly, every display in the command center lit up with detailed schematics of Devourer technology. tactical analyses spanning millions of engagements, and quantum signatures that confirmed the authenticity of the data. Admiral Park, Voss continued, in approximately 72 hours, advanced scouts of the Devourer Collective will arrive in this system. They will assess humanity's current technological development and call in the main force. You have 3 days to evacuate your non-essential population and prepare for a siege that will determine whether your species continues to exist. General Torres was studying the tactical data. Commander Voss, our current military doctrine assumes conflicts between roughly equivalent technological civilizations. What you're describing is asymmetric warfare on a scale that defies comprehension, Voss finished. The Devourers have consumed the technological knowledge of every species they've encountered. They adapt, they learn, and they never stop. The only reason the First Terran Empire lasted as long as it did was because we were willing to sacrifice everything for victory. Park felt the weight of command settling on her shoulders like a gravitational field. What do you need from us? Everything, Voss replied. Every ship, every weapon, every person capable of fighting. But more importantly, I need you to trust us. The Deep Guard has been preparing for this battle for 500,000 years. Our tactics, our weapons, our entire strategic doctrine was designed specifically to defeat the Collective. The display changed to show the approaching ancient fleet in detail. The vessels were massive beyond current engineering capabilities, their hulls incorporating materials and technologies that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Weapons arrays stretched along their surfaces like metallic forests, and energy readings suggested power cores that harvested energy directly from quantum vacuum fluctuations. Admiral, Torres whispered, if they wanted to destroy us, we couldn't stop them. Voss seemed to hear the comment despite the communication distance. General, we didn't spend 500,000 years in exile just to conquer our own descendants. We are here to ensure that humanity's second chance at galactic civilization doesn't end the way our first one did. Warning klaxons began sounding throughout the station as long-range sensors detected new energy signatures at the edge of the solar system. The readings were different from the ancient human fleet, darker, more aggressive, carrying traces of technologies from a dozen different species. Devourer scouts, Voss said grimly. They're early. Admiral Park, I need you to order all Earth forces to stand down and let us handle initial contact. If they detect your current technology level, they'll call in the main fleet immediately. Park hesitated. Every instinct screamed against allowing unknown forces to represent humanity in first contact with a hostile alien species. But the alternative was facing extinction with weapons that were apparently obsolete before the enemy was even fully awakened. All units, this is Admiral Park, she broadcast on all military frequencies. Stand down to defensive positions only. Do not engage unknown contacts without direct authorization. On the main display, the Devourer scout ships came into view. They were smaller than the ancient human vessels, but radiated an aura of predatory efficiency. Their hulls seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, and their weapon systems incorporated technologies harvested from countless extinct civilizations. Commander Voss's image disappeared from the screen as she prepared for battle. Through the viewport, Park could see the ancient human fleet arranging itself in formation between Earth and the approaching scouts. The largest vessels moved with impossible grace for their size, their quantum engines bending space-time around them like controllable gravity wells. The first exchange of weapons fire lit up the darkness between worlds. The Devourer scouts launched projectiles that seemed to phase in and out of reality, bypassing conventional defensive measures. But the ancient human ships responded with weapons that Park had never seen before. Energy beams that struck across dimensions, missiles that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously, and defensive screens that seemed to predict incoming attacks before they were fired. My God, General Torres breathed as he watched the tactical display. They're not just fighting them. They're anticipating every move. The battle was brief but decisive. The Devourer scouts, despite their advanced technology and experience from 1,000 conquered worlds, found themselves outmatched by human weapons and tactics specifically designed to counter their advantages. One by one, the alien vessels were disabled or destroyed, their quantum signatures snuffed out like candles in a hurricane. When the last scout ship's energy signature faded, Commander Voss reappeared on screen. Her expression was grim despite the victory. Admiral Park, we've bought ourselves perhaps 6 hours before the main force arrives. The scouts transmitted everything they observed before we could stop them. How many ships are we looking at? Park asked, dreading the answer. Based on historical patterns, approximately 50,000 heavy assault vessels, supported by twice that number of harvester ships and processing stations. They'll arrive in waves, testing our defenses before committing their full force. The magnitude of the threat hit Park like a physical blow. Earth's entire defense force consisted of maybe 300 ships, and their allied civilizations could contribute perhaps 2,000 more. Against 50,000 vessels with technology stolen from countless extinct species, the odds were beyond hopeless. But Voss wasn't finished. However, they're about to face something they've never encountered before, a species that learned from its own extinction. The Deep Guard fleet consists of 12,000 ships, each one designed specifically to exploit devourer weaknesses we identified during our empire's fall. 12,000 against 50,000 still isn't good odds, Torres pointed out. It would be, Voss agreed, if we were fighting conventionally. But we're not. Every ship in the Deep Guard carries quantum disruptor technology that can collapse the collective's network connections. Every weapon system is calibrated to bypass their adaptive defenses. Every tactic we employ is based on 500,000 years of preparation for this exact scenario. Park felt something she hadn't expected. Hope. What do you need from us? Integration protocols, Voss replied. Your modern ships can't match our firepower, but they can serve as force multipliers if we network them into our tactical systems. Your weapons may be primitive by Deep Guard standards, but they're completely unknown to the Devourers. Sometimes the unexpected can be more valuable than raw power. The next few hours passed in frantic preparation. Earth's defense forces integrated their systems with the ancient human fleet, under protocols that stretched their technology to its limits. Modern weapons were recalibrated to work in conjunction with quantum-based targeting systems. Communication networks were expanded to include consciousness transfer entities that could process tactical data at superhuman speeds. When the main Devourer force arrived, they found humanity ready for them. Not the primitive species they had expected based on the scout reports, but a civilization backed by the accumulated military wisdom of their own ancestors. The battle that followed would echo through galactic history as the moment when humanity proved that some species refused to go extinct quietly. The Devourer collective had consumed 1,000 worlds and enslaved the knowledge of countless species. But they had never faced an enemy that had been preparing for their return for 500,000 years. As the first wave of alien vessels entered weapons range, they discovered why the galaxy would learn to tremble at the name of humanity. Not because humans were the strongest or the most numerous, but because they were the species that had looked extinction in the face and decided to come back stronger.